So once upon a time, there was this old man, and he'd just gone through a really nasty breakup, and he was trying to get back on the dating scene, but he couldn't figure out how to get his mojo back. So he decided to call up a escort, and the escort comes over, and they're talking things out, and they start negotiating, and he says, well, how much for a handjob? And the escort says, $50. And he says, $50? That's outrageous. So the escort takes him to the window and says, see that car out there? And he looks out, there's a great car out there. Yeah, that's a nice car, he says. And the escort says, I bought that car purely off of $50 handjobs. And he thinks to himself, well, that's gotta be a great handjob. So he goes for it. And sure enough, it's one of the most fantastic handjobs the world has ever known. So he goes out and tries to start dating again, but he realizes he still doesn't quite have his mojo back. So the next weekend, he calls up the escort. And the escort comes over and he asks, well, how much for a blowjob? And the escort says, $500. The old man said, $500? That's ridiculous. And the escort said, go to the window. See that house up on the hill? Yeah, that's a nice house, he says. Well, I bought that house purely off of $500 blowjobs. So he says to himself, this must be an amazing blowjob. So he agrees to it, and sure enough, it is a blowjob that rocks his world from side to side. The next day, he can't constrain himself. He calls up the escort. Escort comes over and he says, well, how much for some pussy? The escort just looks at him and says, ha 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 ha! If I had a pussy, I would own this whole town by now.